please make sure that your phones are on silent mode or on flight mode, please. We start. Coach Gavin Hunt joins me here, and as we continue to preview this match, obviously the home team coach. Coach, you got back to winning ways over the weekend in the league, but it's a different match up against the Dondol Stars. Your thoughts heading into that match? Obviously, might be a bit difficult for you to watch them, as much as they get to watch you. But what kind of a match can you expect on Wednesday?
Well, thanks for having us here. You never really know with these type of games. We've obviously had them watched 2-3 times now, but obviously I think with the ruling they can change. They can play older players. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
So you never really know, but I mean you've got a basic idea. I think it's always important to know what you're facing. I think, but we'll treat the game with the respect it deserves, and play properly, and put out a team that's hopefully competitive, and and then the rest must take care of itself. So I'm sure they'll be up for us, and we got to make sure that we match the intensity and play with it with the right attitude and right desire, and then then the rest must. You can only control that,
Coach, let's take questions from the floor. Just by a show of hands, Temba Shabalala. I've noted you, Lawrence.
Coachy, I'm tempted to ask you about your second goal in your PSL match, in the previous match, but it's a story for another day. Coach, you're playing against Dondol Stars, teams that an ordinary football fan would not know much about. How much homework does that give you, and what does it mean to you, knowing very well that you've got a youthful side that can match them on the day? Are you tempted to go on a full-on, squad, or are we seeing you continuing to give your youngsters a chance? And if I may add this one, we've just been informed that John Wick has passed away. You are a big fan of himself and his work and stuff like that. What does it say to Coach Gavin?
Well, firstly, more important things is the passing away of John. I mean, it was very sudden. I mean, in the soccer fraternity and the football fraternity, we all knew him very well. He was a great servant to the game. I mean, what he achieved in the game was also very of high standards. I mean, Nations Cups and Champions Leagues and things like that. So, it's very sad, the passing, very sudden. I mean, I didn't know if there was anything was going on recently with John, because we lost touch, like what happens in football. But certainly, it was a huge blow, waking up to that this morning. So, like everybody, certainly condolences to his family and his immediate family, which is the most important people that are going to be affected. But certainly, it's a great loss. John was a hell of a guy, a hell of a player. So yeah, it was very sudden and just been thrown on us this morning. So. I just hope everything's been taken care of, after his passing. So it's really sad, and he was a big servant of certainly SuperSport, at the latter stage of his career. I mean, him and Tommy played together, so I knew them well, and this is part of life, and it's really sad. So he's in our thoughts and prayers at this moment. The family.
I think the first one was about whether you rotate the squad.
I mean, we got the smallest squad in the league, so I've got to look at we've got to look at certain positions where we got problems and where we don't have problems. I mean, it's pretty well documented where we got problems. So we're going to have to be very careful how we manage the squad for next week's game, which is the game after. But the most important game in football is always the next one, which is on Wednesday. So as I said, for me, we'll put a team out that's very competitive. We've got a team already, which we worked with this morning. So yeah, that's all we can do.
All right, let's move along to
Coach
Lawrence.
fans. You see your winner shows in history coaching in this country. How much emphasis are you putting on the players to win this trophy this season?
Well, I don't know how close we are. I mean, we might be second, but we're a long way away. I think it's important that we try and instill in the club and the players a mentality of the next game is the most important game. So be it whatever it is. The cup are very competitive in this country because obviously people see it as a way of, extra finances. And if you get sometimes lucky with a draw like some teams have in the Nedbank, they've got right through to finals and semi-finals without really playing anybody of any, playing, in terms of playing in the same sort of league, teams are in the same league. I don't mean it like that. But you can also, things can turn on you, if you don't treat the game with respect. So, I've never treated any game with disrespect, be it friendly. We need to play properly, but we have to look at our squad and try and manage it through this period where we're having problems,
Alright, moving right along, I'm looking for new hands. Okay, let's give Zakhele an opportunity. I've also noted you, Karabo.
Yes, Coach, I just want to look at the competitive team that you've brought this season. You came in at SuperSport when we all felt it's depleted and you were starting a new project. And now, I think, maybe you can correct me, I think the last time the team finished in the top 4 was when you were there the last time. This competitive team that you brought together and also being able to mix the experience players with the young stars, and I look at how Maseko took that goal this weekend. I think it's his 3rd goal already, to have youngsters who are already catching up in only their first season. How has this been able to be achieved by SuperSport?
Well, if you look at over the 2 leagues, the Diski League and the Premier League, which club is, what's the word to say? Look where both teams are. So I think it's important that it was something that started in COVID times at SuperSport, where the Diski team sort of came into the first team, and I've just carried on with that because a lot of them I've taken already and playing and given their debuts, and a lot of them had their debuts last season. So we will continue. That's the policy of the club. We're not a buying club. We're a club that's going to have to produce our own, and that's what they've done over the since I was here the first time. So we've had to box clever and do the right things and try and get the right players in. And obviously the Diski team is doing well. A lot of those players will come into the first team, which I have this year already, like Maseko, and will go on next season because of the financial constraints, and we have to do it that way. So that's the bottom line.
Alright, you okay?
Yeah, just one.
Okay.
Yes. So just to continue on this, Coach, I was talking to Tyson the other day, and he was also telling me about the mentorship role he's playing in some of the youngsters. I think he mentioned Neo, he also mentioned Diema. This experience, type of players that you've got, I'm sure you're also looking at them as an asset in terms of the project that you're going with.
Well, that was the whole idea, bringing in players like Tyson to the squad. He's still, I think his best years are still ahead of him as a centre-back. Centre-back's only matured 34, 35, in my opinion. The best ones in the world are all over 30. So he's 30, 31. He's still got years ahead of him. So he came to the squad and he's done a hell of a job. Obviously he's had a bad injury now, but that's just part and parcel of the game. But he'll come back and every day the leadership, we've got 2 very good centre-backs in the Diski, and they will play a big part in the future of this football club, in my opinion. So they're the next ones coming in. So that's about keeping the whole system going, in which we do, which the club has always been known for. And then obviously, they get sold after that. But that's the nature. That's the DNA of our football club.
Okay, Karabo.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Coach. You've spoken about the importance of mixing youth and experience, and I'm looking at your Diski team because I've had an opportunity of working with them closely. Coach, you look at a player such as Zakhele Lepasa, who hasn't really had a lot of opportunities in the first team. And one of the most important aspects in football is simplicity is the most important, difficult rather. And he's done that so well for the BSK team.
Who's that?
Zakhele Lepasa.
Zakhele, yeah.
Do you see him playing as well as such as Jamu Matiwa as well? Players
He could play tomorrow. Yeah.
Simple as that, Coach. Thank you, Coach. Thank you.
Cool. Are you?
Not tomorrow, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Mahlatsi.
Coach,
I've noted you there.
Coach, going along with this thing of the youth, we've reached the business end of the season now in the district commission. You've given youngsters a chance. There's been a couple at Stellenbosch and Sundowns who have raised their hands. If I were to press you and say, who will be your pick for the young player of the season?
Sure, it's a bit early, eh? I mean, how do you classify young? In South Africa, we classify young maybe 24, 25, you know, so it's, I don't really want to go down here, do I? It's a Nedbank Cup, isn't it? But a young player should be, certainly for me, under 20, first year in the PSL or something, and there should be some criteria. But I think, well, there's been a lot of young players win the award that have been.
No, it's under 21, Coach. In the
Is it?
The PSL awards
Is it under 21?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So maybe, you know, that should be, so these, I mean, we will have a few, certainly in the running. Hopefully we can kick, you know, come in the season. I don't know how many, too many clubs will have, you know, in the running, but we've got 17, 18-year-olds that play, you know. So, yeah. So it's difficult to answer that question. And there's still, I think, it's a long way to go. You know, it's a long way to go.
All right, Newsroom Africa there.
Coach, you're a coach here from Newsroom Africa. You've mentioned how stretched your squad is and how small a squad you have. But should you progress in this competition and also in the league, second spot becomes more and more of a reality. I know you as a serial winner, but which one of these competitions would you then start to prioritize? Which one do you think will be more significant to show for SuperSport United at the end of the season, and Nedbank Cup trophy, or be able to compete in Africa in the next season?
Both. And the next game. You're not in a luxury of prioritizing. I don't think we're in a luxury, so we've got to prioritize every game. The only time, as I say, when it comes to suspensions and injuries, that's where the discussion comes. But other than that, you know, as I said, we'll play our best team that's available with the right, you know. We can't put a player in that's struggling a bit, hasn't trained Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, trains Friday, and plays Saturday. I don't think that's the right, you know, those type of things. So we'll see. But we pretty much picked a team already for Wednesday, you know, this morning, which normally happens at our club anyway. Monday, the team's picked for Saturday. Yeah.
Thank you, Coach. Let's go to Mihlali.
Coach Mihlali Balega from the Star newspaper. Coach, maybe you can just enlighten us on the move of Zakhele Lepasa to SuperSport. How did it come about? Because it happened on the final day of the transfer window. And also, what is it that is brought into training and obviously the match that is already played this past weekend?
I think in every department in a football team, you need players to play in a position, but you also need different types of players. So if you look at our strike force, and we've got very similar type of strikers, so we needed something different. I always felt we needed something different, and he gives us something different. So that's pretty much how the whole thing came about, you know. And obviously, I'm not involved in the actual deal, but I can only say X, Y, Z. We need something like this or like that, and I think he gives us that. So let's see how, you know. It's still a start. I threw him straight in. People said I was mad, which I am, but yeah, you know. And I think that's the only way to, you know. It's like you signing a player for 50 million, and they say, well, we have to coach him. Are you joking with me? You must play. You know what I mean? You know. So that's it. Yeah.
Thank you, Coach. Second round of questions. Let's go to Pendulo. I've noted Temba.
Coach, maybe I'll start with this and Coach, Dondol Stars coach here, Police, who just left here, he spoke highly of you on how you play your football, and it seems like he has a certain idea on how you're going to play your football. do you then, since it's hard to get some sort of video analysis on them, but do you then use a word of mouth or send some scouts to see how they play their football since they are around in Pretoria, and how do you think it's going to turn out on Wednesday night? Thank you.
I think any coach, and I say this to a lot of young coaches that come in now, I think it's important to concentrate on your own team and try and coach a team that with what you've got, but do know a little bit about the opposition, X, Y, Z. But I think it's very important. I think there's too much analysis of opposition when you should be trying to concentrate on what you're trying to do. And if you be good at what you do at the level, whatever level it is, then I think you'll be successful. But I think obviously on the opposition on Wednesday they can watch the games all the time because they're on television. But as I said, we have watched them and got the scouting report, which are pretty consistent. But the most important thing, what we do and try and do what we do well, and try and be effective in that. I think that's important. And the rest, yes, you do need to know about the opposition, X, Y, Z. But I think it's important to concentrate on, and try to perfect and be good and be predictable. I like to be predictable, but be good at being predictable. That that's just an overview.
Okay, Lorenz, do you have a question? Okay, let's move on to Temba.
Coach, now that you spoke about Zakhele, it takes me to Ikram Reyners. We saw him banging goals at Stellis with them. He came to SuperSport, but there was no ignition, maybe if I may use that word, of himself. But then he went back to Stellis, and he's already has a goal and an assist in his first match with them. Coach, if you can take us through what happens to Cape players when they go inland. Is it a mental thing, or is it a physical thing, or is it to do with the weather? Why is it that we find Cape Town players struggling when they come to Gauteng specifically?
Well, I don't know so much about that. We've had lots of Cape Town players playing in Joburg. We won the leagues with Cape Town players. So I hear that statement, but for me, guys, if a player's not happy, must go.
Was he not happy?
Was he not happy?
So that's it. Why keep an unhappy player? And no hard feelings. He wanted to leave, and that was it. So.
All right, let's leave it there. Any takers for the last round of questions? Are we all covered? Okay, there's still two more hands. Let's go back to Yolube, and then we also have Veli. Can go ahead, bro.
Coach, this is also not to do with this match specifically. It's another death. We just lost a young man. I know you're a person that likes to coach young players and guide them through. We just lost a young Andres. Can we just hear your thoughts on that particular instance, and the potential that the young man had, and how far, with your observation, you think he could have gotten football ranks? Thank you.
I've had a few in my time. I can't sort of think. But when a player with potential like that, and that type of player, because we don't have those players in South Africa, it's just starting his career, and how it happened. I've heard the story. I mean, it's very sad. She's like to Rob Bernardi and Stellenbosch and Steve and all of them down there, and they do a hell of a job there. And I know what this boy, where he came from. I know the area well. I'm from there, down that side. Sure. And this is not the first. There's been many similar stories. So sure, it's really sad to see what's happened, and I don't even know what to say. I mean, really, it's a touchy one, that one, especially the young boy at that age, and how it's happened, So yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know what else to say. Just certainly condolences to everybody again, and our thoughts and prayers over Stellenbosch FC, because it's going to knock them hard, that's for sure. He's a good young player.
Okay, thank you very much, Coach. I think there are no further questions, so we're gonna end it here. All the best for Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. Thank you.